Tales from the Tavern was recorded in front of a live Twitch audience.
I'm Commander Shepard, and Tales from the Tavern is my favorite stream on Twitch.
Hello, everybody. We are back with another episode of Tales from the Tavern. I hope you all are having a great Sunday and have had a good weekend thus far. We are very excited to be here with you all tonight. I've got a great group of guests with me tonight. Some have been on before. You probably recognize a few faces, whether from being on Tales from the Tavern or participating in the Extra Life Charity Stream Weekend Extravaganza, or like an episode of Tales from the Tavern like 2 years ago, maybe. I'm going to give everybody a chance to go around and introduce themselves and tell you a little about who they are and where you can find them online. So GM Alex from Inspired Incompetence, we're going to start with you.
Hi, I'm Alex. I am the GM, if you can believe it, of the Inspired Incompetence podcast. It is a Pathfinder First Edition based podcast. We're running through a survival horror campaign called Tyrant's Grasp. It's been as fun as it's been miserable, and we have weekly releases every Friday, and it's a lot of fun.
Awesome. Well, thank you for coming on and hanging out tonight. I'm excited to get to chat with you a little bit.
Thank you.
Kyle, it's nice to have you on finally.
Oh yeah, long time watcher. Finally get to be on and
long time watcher, first time caller.
But you can find me at Kyle Express on Twitter and Instagram. I generally just like to hype up all these amazing people that you see around me. And if you really want to find me, you can find me anywhere with Underground Oracle, helping pitch their wares and play their material, because they're really awesome third-party publisher.
They are. And if you don't know Jess and Keith, you are missing out. So you should definitely check them out as well. Lord Richter, welcome back.
Thank you.
Lord Richter's joined the very exclusive club of the 3-time guest, so...
Yes, as I was explaining, I am now an ace.
Yes.
An ace guest.
Yes.
I'm Lord Richter, and I like to hang around the Inspired Incompetence Discord. I also will haunt the Full Round Action Gaming Discord. There's a couple others that you might catch me at, but I just basically like to cause trouble and listen in, and I actually have started... with a friend of mine from the Inspired Incompetence Discord, a podcast that the best way to describe it is like we're doing the Talking Dead, but for Inspired Incompetence, and we call it Dice Install.
Nice. That's great. Awesome. Well, thank you for coming on. Morgan, welcome back for the first time in a few years.
It's been crazy. What's up, travelers? I am Morgan with Mind Flayed Mondays. My pronouns are he, him. You guys can find me on social media everywhere except Twitter at Mind Flayed Mondays. On Twitter, it's at Mind Flayed Mun. Apparently, my handle was just too long for Twitter. Our website is mindflayedmondays.com. We are a team of professional dungeon masters, so if you need somebody to run an adventure for you, check us out. We have an amazing team. It's not just me. I have about 4 other dungeon masters that work with me, and they're all very talented. Beyond pro DMing, we also have D&D related products, t-shirts and stuff on Amazon and Redbubble, and we also have published content on the DMs Guild. We're no UO publishing. I love them as well. So I actually just ran a one-shot recently on Dungeons and Dummies, doing a special UO published one-shot on there.
Nice.
They are amazing. So I definitely am with you guys. If you guys do not know Keith and Jess, you need to. So that's my plug for them. We also have a podcast called Mind Flayed Mondays podcast. We drop episodes on Mondays. Our main story is a 5e campaign where the players are in a homebrew world where the continents actually float above the planet itself, and it's a very, very interesting group to play to run for. So check us out. We also do other little one shots of like Call of Cthulhu, Monster of the Week, different things like that. So definitely check it out. One last note, and then I'm going to be quiet. In mid-August, I will be guest DMing the very first special one-shot, which we hope will be more for Dungeon Masters and Dummies. It's going to be called Dungeon Masters and Dragons. It is going to be a charity one-shot, and we're going to be doing it for St. Jude's Hospital in partnership with Extra Life. So I'm going to be having the opportunity to run this first supplement. It's a supplement by Mammoth Factory, and I'm very excited about this. More details will come soon, so stay in tune for that.
Awesome. We're big fans of Extra Life over here, as you may or may not know. A couple weeks ago, we just did our own Extra Life charity stream weekend extravaganza and raised just over $2,000 in 3 days. So
Yay.
yeah, super awesome community to do that with. So I hope you guys have wild success.
Thank you.
And heck, speaking of the Extra Life charity stream weekend extravaganza, how are you?
Good. Hey, everybody. It's me, Sir Heck-a-Lot, or you can just call me Heck, either one. You can find me on all of the social medias at Sir Heck-a-Lot. I am part of just kind of everywhere. Just a variety of actual play content on just various channels, including Neon Lights Roleplay, Lost Caravan RPG, Nat 20, and The Hype Goblin, just to name a couple of them. Just on various dots of their schedules, whatever they'll let me in. That's fire. You can find me in all kinds of other content, like I write my own stuff on Itch. I'm starting to delve into streaming overlay stuff, so that's been really fun. Just find me everywhere. Usually the social media is the best place to figure out where I'll be next.
Nice. Awesome. Well, thank you for coming on and hanging out. I'm excited to have you. All right. So if you're watching for the first time and you've never been here before, let me tell you a little about how the stream works. So everything that we talk about tonight comes from questions from chat. So feel free to drop your questions in the chat and we will have a moderator make sure that we get it so that we can answer any questions that you have. If you have some channel points racked up and you would like to use them, we do have the Ask My Question Next feature for 1,000 channel points. You can have your question bumped up to the next one in the queue. So that is also available for you too. Molly is sitting here to remind you all that there's also the treats for kitties. She's already gotten some. Just, it's there just in case anybody wants to provide any more treats. She's waiting very patiently right now. So.
And it's only 500 channel points.
Only 500 channel points. But it's also only available 3 times a night because otherwise that's a lot of treats for kitties. So anyway, I am going to jump in with the first question of the night. And this is something that I like to ask when I have people on that, haven't been on before or in a very long time, I should say. So if you are playing D&D or another TTRPG of your choice at a physical table with physical dice, do your dice have to match?
No.
Not at all.
No. I don't think I've ever not had matching dice, but it's also never really been a problem to me. If I've never actually thought about that. I don't think it would really bother me.
Well,
Yes,
you can go.
Oh, we found one.
Well,
They
he
have to
says
match.
that, but he has a set of dice that don't match.
You see this right here? This is my very first set of dice I ever rolled with when I was 5.
Oh,
My uncle, they were my uncle's set. These were when they didn't sell them in sets. He built this set himself, gave it to me as my first set of dice, and I've had it for 3 years. And now they're here in a place on. I've always rolled with sets of dice. So
Wow.
that's awesome.
See, I have my my box of dice here, and it's just the chaos box. There's so many like different like little different colors of dice here because like I play casters a lot. Like doesn't matter what system, I play a lot of casters, and when you need like 8d6s to cast something, like I don't have the time for all of them to match. I said I cast Fireball, so here we are.
Yeah,
I'll mix match for spells, but
and
of course
I'll
that.
interchange them all around to get the dice that I need, so I don't really worry about them matching. Especially when my main D20 is a wood D20, and that's the only wooden one I have.
Nice.
Go ahead. Nope, go ahead.
I was going to say I always have I make a set for my character, so I'll always use the same dice for a given character, and then I'll add in other dice because inevitably I need more than just the standard set. But they don't have to match in terms of like it's always a pre-bought set for the character. Sometimes I make it up as I go, but I can tell you power dice are mismatched on purpose, and they are a set.
I've heard that,
But yeah.
actually.
These are Lord Richter's power dice that he sent to me in their prison where they belong because
Because Alex can't use them responsibly. He used them as a GM against players, which is a no-no,
Oh.
an absolute no-no.
it was
But
bad.
see, when he used them as a player just recently, it went really well for him, and everything was wonderful.
Can confirm. I figured it was a fluke, but I didn't want to chance it, and then I used him as a player. And there's I don't know what kind of pacts Lord Richter's making over there on the West Coast, but they've got serious power.
Only with the best sort of scum and villain.
Oh man, Lord Richter just dropped a picture in our group chat of all of the dice.
My follow-up question would be how much dice do you have? How many dice do you have? Is there too many dice?
There's no such thing as too many.
I disagree. I think if they bury you and crush you and you can't lift them, then maybe that's too many. But
No, if that happens to
That's a
me, then
large
it is my time to go.
okay.
That means you rolled a natural 1
When
on your
your
deck
confidence
save.
is being lowered in, we're supposed to show up with the Chessex pounds of dice and just start pouring them in there to make sure you come
That's
back.
how I want to be buried, man.
How much bludgeoning damage would that be?
You know what? I think we just figured it out. So when I die, I just want like my coffin filled with me and a bunch of dice, and then it's going to be like a field day when archaeologists dig me up in 1,000 years.
It's like packing peanuts, but dice.
Packing peanuts. Oh my god. Chat calling me out. Luna says that so she can justify buying all the dice. Ouch, man. You're not wrong, but ouch. All right. Well, let's see. I'm not even going to get into it because everybody already knows that all my dice have to match. They all stay separate from each other. They each have their own space to be in. So there we go. But we've got a couple of questions that have come in, so we're going to dive in. The first one from chat comes from Jason, and Jason would like to know, what is the weirdest mount or vehicle you've ever seen in an RPG session?
All right, we didn't end up doing this, but in the one shot we ran for the Dungeons and Dummies for UO Publishing, one of the players was a slimeling. He was an awakened slimeling, and he wanted to take the mythic. It's a feat, the mythic. I think it's companion feat, and he wanted his mount to be a human. He wanted to ride on a human's shoulder, so he wanted to be a slimeling that rode around on a human, and I was going to allow it because I thought it would be epic, and I was ready to role play the human.
That's awesome.
Did the human have his own oat bag?
Yeah. There you go.
It was a backwards hoodie.
That would probably be the one for me.
I don't know that it's a weird one, but my favorite, and I think of this only because I remember the description of it. And if I remember correctly, 3.5 was the version, but there was the war rhino.
Yeah.
And that in playing my son, he insisted on having one of those.
Oh,
And so I enjoyed the heck out of the war rhino.
that'd be awesome. I'd love to see that at the table.
Yeah, I'm not sure how strange this is. I think what's stranger is this has happened in 2 different campaigns, like 2 very separate campaigns with like different people, different circles, different everything. They both had the same idea of a Zaraton, so big like turtle, earth elemental thing. One was a campaign that I GM'd for, and I very much like modeled it after the lion turtles in Avatar: The Last Airbender. If you remember those, there are these moving islands, and I don't know, the ranger made friends with the moving island and ended up really jiving with that, and had kind of a ship, I guess, of a aquatic Zaraton. And then a couple years later, I'm playing in another campaign, and a fellow player just really wanted to had this Zaraton we found like underneath a city as his pet, and someone donated the chat to make it happen because the GM wasn't gonna allow it first. It was like, all right, how many bits will it take for us to get this pet? And someone did it. Someone in chat did it, and was basically this paladin's land travel for the rest of time throughout the story, and it was really great.
Wow, nice.
As a GM, that's my worst nightmare of having a
Chat
live
overriding you.
audience. Yeah, empowered to just do whatever they want.
It was the finale. It was fine.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
He has a hard enough time with the chat that can't mess with him. That ruins his life. So giving him a live studio audience the power over Alex might be too much for him. You might just see him pop on screen.
I had a character once. We had to make up a stat block for it. She rode a dire pangolin.
What is that?
So a pangolin is
little fuzzy critter, right?
they're not fuzzy. They have scales. But they sort of almost look like an armadillo. Okay, Pokemon Sand Slash is based on a pangolin.
Oh, okay.
So they look kind of like that. And they always look like they feel really bad about interrupting you when they walk on their hind legs. But basically, they just are these big, well, not big, they're fairly small, but like scaled, like armored scales, I should say, not like snake scales. So we created a dire pangolin, stat block. Well, we didn't create it. Actually, there is one out there on the interwebs that we dug up, and we used that, and so that was her mount.
I'm picturing Sand Slash, and that sounds like it chafes.
It might. I mean, we created a harness and a saddle and all of that good stuff.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. Fair enough.
Yeah.
Nice.
They're very cute, though.
They really are.
I'm about to
I want one.
put something in our group chat.
Yeah. I was just doing that, so I'm glad you are.
Yes, I'm absolutely an animal nerd. I should be. I'm going to vet school, so.
Yeah.
It's very cute.
Oh
kind
my
of
god,
confused
that is the
going back
cutest
to
thing
school.
I've ever seen.
You have my
Now a dire version of that.
Yes.
Dire version of
A
that.
dire
right?
version of that,
Yeah.
and that was her mount.
So extra cute, and when it looks at you, you just go, "Aw," and forget about hitting what you're supposed to
Right.
hit.
Because they actually have super sharp front claws because they dig a lot.
Oh, yeah.
I bet they do.
Just the cutest little sharp claws you've ever seen. Oh my gosh.
I never got to ride anything crazy, but I did get to ride on an elephant, and on the charity stream I did. with Luna last time, and that elephant got turned into a war elephant too. So two different kinds of one stream.
Oh, yeah. I remember that one.
Yep. That was I saw all of the behind the scenes chatter about that. I was like, this is pretty epic what's going on right now.
Yeah,
I didn't-
nothing but love and help for the game master that day.
I guess the closest thing to a crazy mount I've ever done was in my podcast before the campaign we're doing now is Skull and Shackles, is a pirate themed campaign, and one of the players through kind of series of events exploring his past, he managed to acquire an intelligent sailing ship that it was basically like it was like an awakened construct that was the form of a sailing ship, and it communicated through Morse code.
That's pretty cool, actually.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun, and and because of that, it could like submerge and everything. So it was a Davy Jones kind of ship.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
I listened to a podcast where they have a ship. It's actually a submarine, but it's basically like this magical boat that when they're out of the water, it's the for anybody familiar with it, it's the Dice Populi podcast, and so when they're not using it, it basically becomes this little toy boat that they can carry around with them so that like somebody can't steal their boat. But when it's in its like true form, it's essentially a submarine, like a fantasy submarine. And it's called the Tide Pod, which I just
Nice.
love.
Nice.
Don't swallow that.
Right? Yeah, no, do not recommend. Do not recommend.
God. How did you kill the BBEG?
Yeah.
We fed it the Tide Pod.
I gave it the Tide Pod challenge.
Oh no!
And I go, here you go.
Boom!
How
The
old is
magic
that
word.
meme at this point?
Oh my god. We just gave a bunch of players terrible ideas.
Right?
This
I
stream
know.
brought to you by Tata.
Players, trust me, as a
Yeah.
player,
Hashtag not sponsored.
long-time player, I don't need any help coming up with terrible ideas. They
True.
come to me in a torrent of inspiration, just a torrent.
That's
I
fair.
have to sort through that fire hose of ideas and pick the very best.
Of the worst ideas.
Yeah, of course, because they're all terrible. If they were good ideas, I'd be rich in somewhere. Instead, I'm playing RPGs, and so
Yeah.
it is what it is.
All right, let's see. The next question that we got actually is going to go back to talking about dice. And I really like this question. It comes from Minky Mew. And the question is, do you have any dice in your collection which you won't use? If so, why or what happened to make you stop using them? Equally the reverse, are there any dice you use when you need something to go well?
See above.
I mean, you already saw those dice. I don't use them anymore. They're in
Yes.
a place of honor. They've done many characters for many years. They were never bad dice. They were always been great dice, but now they're in retirement. They're enjoying their years of retirement up on the mantle so everybody could see them.
I feel like
I don't
someday, like if anything ever happened to those, it would be like in that meme with the, like, was I a good dice set? No, I'm told you were the best.
Yeah. And, as for, specific dice that I go to, not really. I don't have any. I mean, all my dice roll pretty fairly. I kind of do what Lord Richter does. I like to build sets for certain characters, and then so that will pretty much be the main dice I roll for those characters, and that's just stick to it. That's about it for me. So.
Yeah, as many times as I like to say, like, that this die is going to Dice Jail and, like, isn't coming out, like, I give them chances again. Like, I don't know. I can't do it. So yeah, I don't think I really go to any, like, particular ones to, like, roll super well or anything. It's just I'll give you another chance, but you better roll better.
Yeah.
And sometimes they do. That's just where I'm at.
Yeah, I don't. If I have dice that are really horrible, that just hate me that much, I get them. I get rid of them. I cast them out. They're exiled, never to return to my dice bag ever.
Do you ever give those dice away to friends as gifts?
Only if they want that die that badly. Because
Okay.
true story, hand to God. I had a guy at the table I was at. He pulls out his 8-sided die and he throws it down to make a roll, and it comes up a 1. And he's like, "Oh man!" And then he's like, "This die just hit." And I go, "It can't possibly be the die, dude. It can't possibly." And he rolls it, and it's a 1. And then he rolls it, and it's a 1. And I'm like, "Okay, that's 3 in a row. That's pretty. 4 in a row, it's a 1. 5 in a row, it's a 1." Then he says, "Reverse it." So if he rolls an 8, that counts as a 1. It's an 8. And then he rolls again and gets a 1, because I said, "There's no way, it's impossible you could." Comes a 1 again. I said, "Give me that goddamn die." I just give it to me, because anything that does that, I got it possessed. Because and they rolled good for me. But if I have anything that bad, I cast them out. If somebody really wants it, they can have it. But I don't try and sneaky burden people with my crappy dice.
Yeah. By the way,
There's
that's
never been that
about
one player that. Go ahead, sorry.
I took my calculator out real quick. That's about a 1 in 3 million chance for 5 natural ones in a row.
Yeah, it was. I ran the numbers. The 8, 1 in 8 shot, and I was like, "Wow." My it's great. Boom, that die can do magical things. I'm gonna keep it. Yeah, it was a thing to behold. But yeah, no, any die that has that much personality and doesn't like me, I get no. We separate. We part ways instantly.
Was the player you met, was his name Will Wheaton?
No. We talk. No. Not at all.
I don't have any dice that I don't use, but I do have one set that I don't use as often. There's just like this really big, oversized set, like the D20 is like this big.
Yeah.
And then the other dice are really big too, so it just doesn't fit well when I'm playing. But other than that, I use all my dice equally, and then unless they're not rolling well while I'm playing, and then I'll kind of swap them out. But once the game's over, they go back in the bag and get to figure themselves out.
I use those big ones for home defense. So
Yeah, right. I think it was last week I was showing off some D6s that somebody sent me that were these metal D6s that, I kid you not, weigh about a pound each. They're like, they're probably like this big. And
Oh my god.
we jokingly said that I could keep those next to my bed in case anybody ever broke in. So
Yep.
Well,
so the first couple at people and then crack them with the other ones when they get too close.
Just throw a buckshot at them.
Yeah, exactly. You just throw it at them and roll for initiative. But yeah, I have a set. I don't use them, but the only reason that I don't use them is because I have them more because I think they're adorable, but they are admittedly from the manufacturer. They are not balanced, so I don't use them when I play. But they're the Keyfish crit dice from Greenleaf Geek. Hopefully you guys can see it. Anyway, they have little tiny goldfish in them. And they're
cool.
super cute. But yeah, I don't use them because they're not balanced. And
Right.
I just, I like to try to be fair when I play. So, but then I have this set. I actually won them as a giveaway. And I'm convinced that's probably the best set that I've owned, and they're really not anything like super fancy, but I've used them for 2 one-shots now, and both times they've rolled really, really well for me, and I'm like, well, we're just going to keep using these until they stop, so there you go. All right. Anybody else? Did everybody get a chance to answer if they wanted to?
Yep.
Okay, cool.
I think so, yeah.
All right, awesome. So the next question that we have also comes from Minky Mew, and the question is, how do you think digital TTRPG playing spaces has affected the scene, and what has it done for you personally? So, there's a big question for you all.
Yeah. I think it's been very helpful for the community at large. It's empowered a lot of people to find groups where they otherwise wouldn't have access to anywhere, usually because there's nobody in their area playing, or they just don't know about it. Like it's a great way to just find people looking for you specifically because you want to play and they need a player at their game. And it's, I run a podcast, so it's no question that it's been a huge boon for me and my friends.
I mean, yeah, I can definitely echo that and say that, yeah, it's been super helpful. And to bring like a real life perspective to it, I actually started a D&D club at my undergrad university. I went through like writing the whole constitution, got an advisor, went in front of student council, like whole 9 yards, got it done. And to see like the number of people that even in the small space, it was a pretty small school, about 2,000 students, to see so many people that I otherwise wouldn't have really met or connected with over this hobby come together just on that small of a scale really speaks to how much larger it can be with online TTRPGs. Which, yeah, I've definitely seen that at this point. And at least personally, I feel like I've gotten to meet so many awesome people that I definitely would never have crossed paths with if it wasn't for this. So, yeah, I think it's been very helpful just across the board.
Yeah, I really agree. I probably wouldn't have had much chance to play at all if it weren't for the virtual tools available. Pretty much all the games I've been in have been virtual, and one occasion I've been able to play in person. So having that ability, especially for myself, being very introverted and not very outgoing, don't have a lot of like friends that live close by me and that play. So being able to get into a community that is virtual and have these accessibility tools to really chime in and be able to meet new people and have that opportunity to play without so many boundaries has been really, really helpful. So I think it's a huge boon for the community, especially in avenues like Oregon with pro DMing, which is something I'm starting to look into doing myself. And that's going to be a super helpful tool to make that happen.
Yeah, I mean, I was gonna touch on that, but I mean, I've been playing since I was 5. I started with second edition. I went back and played first edition. I played all the editions, and I played a slew of other games. And I can tell you, and as some of you who've been playing just as long, when back in the day, it was like you had to like look hard to find people. And if people didn't show up, I mean, you were just like, well, crap, now I got nothing to, I can't play, and it was really, really hard. And when things have gone digital, it's been digital for a long time, but definitely after COVID, I feel like it's been a lot like a bigger boom. It's opened up so many routes, not just for us as DMs, but also for businesses. Like there's so many people now that you got all these different virtual tabletops that are coming out. It's created this whole new market for people to jump in. It's been amazing for the community as a whole. There's so many things. And 10 years ago, if you'd have said, hey, you're going to be a part of the TTRPG community and social media, I'd have been like, what? And now I'm like, it's just like this huge digital family that I've become a part of, and I love all the connections. It's just amazing. And then on a personal level at the business, when I started this, we were just doing local in-person games. And when COVID hit, we went digital, and it opened up all kinds of avenues for my dungeon masters and myself. So now we don't just do local games, we do it for anybody around the country. If somebody wants to do a digital game, we got it. So I think going online has been amazing. It will never fully replace playing with a group of friends at a table, because there's just something magical about sitting at a table with your friends and having a drink with each other right there in person. But it's a close second, and I think it's amazing what we've been able to do as a community online.
I would agree. I was going to share that in my experience has been that it was great to go into COVID and be able to continue to game and keep in contact with my local group. The one thing I did notice is that the social skills dropped off a lot because you don't have the kind of cues that you have in person. And then, you're not paying attention to them. So that got a little. I'm not thinking I don't know. The nearest thing I can think to is in the X-Men movie when Rogue saves herself by soaking up Wolverine's healing, and then they talk about, well, she got a little like you for a while, and that's about all they say about it, with the implication that was less than fun. So we had that, but getting past that, I think it's a good thing. I mean, it gives you the option to stay in touch with people, and you're not necessarily your group's not necessarily destroyed if someone moves away or that sort of thing. So I mean, it's good overall.
I would also like to add, as a parent with a bunch of kids, being able to stay home and play online has made it a lot easier to be able to participate in games, because it's anybody who's a parent knows it's stressful trying to, like, okay, hey, we're going to meet Saturdays. Oh, no, my kid's got the flu. I can't come, or, I got to take my kid to this event. So sorry, I wasn't expecting this to happen. Like, but if it's online, it's like, hey, I could be online. Boom. It's so much easier being able to connect with people on a more regular basis. So,
yeah. Kind of building off of what Lord Richter was getting into is, I don't have any personal experience with this, but I've seen quite a lot of stories about it where when you're doing anything online, there's a much higher chance with the anonymity factor to kind of let your meaner impulses come out, and you kind of do run a higher risk of, especially if you're getting into a group that you don't really know, having a single person just kind of ruin everything with just being rude or disruptive. And not to say that doesn't happen in person at all, but I from what I've seen, I feel like you do have that risk kind of does exist a bit more prevalently with online gaming.
Yeah.
I know that my personal group, when we did it, we didn't bother turning the video on because that was something we could cut and hopefully get better performance out of, like Roll20 and stuff. And that was definitely a mistake, because I know that when my lovely wife got her once a year game, by the way, if you're a patron at the right level of Inspired and Competent, once per year, as once per every year you're a patron, one of them will either run a game for you, or you can play with them in a game that they do special. So my wife set this up, and then she claims she never lied to me, but that's a lie. She lied to me. I suggested it was Inspired Incompetence behind it, and she says, no, I never used that. I never done it. Whatever. We turned the cameras on there. We were actually in person, and we did it because Matt, who's not here, was the one running for us. And I think that with the cameras on is a much better way, because then, if somebody says something and you go, oh, or roll your eyes, I mean, you're giving that feedback, but you're also kind of shamed, because you wouldn't do that at a table, right? That's not something you do in person. At least I don't the first 3 or 4 times somebody does something. So, it kind of, improves your behavior. And it also, like I said, it's the social skills. It keeps those up. I mean, it's not like me where I just ignore them because I just decided I'm going to ignore them. I mean, these are people that actually care generally. So, a slightly different taste there, brand.
Building off what Alex was saying about that as well, as Dungeon Masters, we have to take our session zeros and a lot of those, different things that we introduced in these recent years, if, hey, I have a problem with this, all those things, with it being online, we have to take those things way more serious. Not that you don't take them serious at the table, but again, because there's a difference. People get crazy when they're on a keyboard versus in person. It really makes you have to step up as a dungeon master and really keep a handle on your game, because if you don't, online it can get derailed in ways that you were not expecting very, very quickly. If you have somebody who's just a bad, somebody who's just like, I don't really care, and I'm at home. What are they going to do? Kick me out? Yep. Whatever. It really makes you have to step your game up. as a DM sometimes.
So I think for me, the whole digital space really changed my life, and I don't say that to be hyperbolic or anything like that. Like it's, so I started getting into streaming TTRPGs just before COVID hit. And it was the first time that I'd ever like used a VTT or anything like that. And you know, through that, like, got to meet some really incredible people, learned a lot about streaming, got the opportunity to actually start Tales from the Tavern, you know, worked on that channel for about a year, moved to a different channel after that, worked on that channel for almost another year, and then took Tales from the Tavern to this channel. But through the course of that, like, you know, kind of like everybody's been saying, just met some really amazing people, you know, people that I never would have had the opportunity to meet had I not gotten involved in playing online. You know, people that I now consider to be best friends and, you know, my better half, and, you know, just all of that I would not have ever had the opportunity to encounter any of these people. And I think it's also given me the opportunity to learn more about what I like and don't like at the table. You know, I grew up in, so to speak, in the TTRPG space. My first 10 years were literally playing with the same group. And so I just had, it was the same game, same group of people, so I had no like variety in, it was just, this is how you play, this is how the game is played. And so being able to play online and sort of broadening the scope of people that I play with, it's like, oh, okay, I really like this, I don't like this, this works really well for me, this, you know, this is a game that I don't ever want to play again, you know, things like that. So I think in that regard, I've learned just a lot as a player. You know, and found encouragement too to even consider starting like the idea of DMing again, which I never would have done otherwise. So, yeah.
Oh yeah.
100% agree with that.
Yeah. All right. Minky Mew is on it with the questions tonight. Let me just say that. So,
Yeah.
not that I don't love the questions, but if chat has other questions that they would like to throw out there, we would love to see those too. But this question is on the social skills side of things. As GMs, have digital spaces made it harder to keep players involved or on track or focused, etc.?
I don't think it's. Oh, I was just going to make a quick crack. Sorry, which was just, I don't think players need any help, or there's anything that reins them in to keep them on track or any of that stuff. I mean, we're a pretty wily bunch, I think. That's all I was going to say. Sorry.
I was going to say, from my experience, mainly because of what I've had to learn going professionally, I go really hardcore into my session zeros with what is expected from me, from my players, and what I expect from them at the table. And because of that, I really personally have not had a lot of crazy issues online. Even with my podcast crew, they're amazing players. They stay on the ball. They don't try to break anything. They don't, if they know that we're supposed to be playing this night, they show up. But we all set very, very good standards from the very beginning. So that way there was no confusion or room for somebody to go, oh, well, I didn't know I couldn't do that. Or I didn't think it'd be a problem. Everybody knows what is expected of them, both as a player and as a DM at my tables. So digitally, I really haven't had too many issues with the social skills, because everybody knows that it's safe space. They know that everything. So
I've found it's kind of a give and take with digital versus physical. Physical. If you're not digital, if you're all there at the table, you're a lot more centered. Everybody's there. Everybody can focus on each other and the role playing and whatever you have on the table. With digital, it's a lot easier to have like visual aids for the game. It's as simple as using the snip tool on Windows, which is like my favorite thing. And you just put it right there in the chat, and you're like, "This is what you're looking at. This is what this guy looks like." But
He's
on the other
sniffing Tales
hand,
of the Tavern right now. He's not kidding. That's his favorite tool.
but on the other hand, the players are all online too. So they have their emails, they have their social medias, and yeah, as it was said, I think as long as you establish that expectation in session 0, you're usually going to not have that problem too much. I certainly haven't really needed to worry about it. So if anything, I would say that it's more engaging with virtual because of that.
Yeah, I don't have. Oop, you go ahead.
I was just saying, like, just like on in person, you're always going to have those people that are going to be more, showboaty and want to be involved and want to do the RP stuff, and then you're going to have the ones that are kind of like, I just want to roll the dice and say what I'm going to do and not get like super descriptive. But as long as everybody's having fun and they're doing what they want to do in their best moment, like, then that's fine. And you just got to understand that, just like you would at the table. And I think every group's different, and every group's going to have those same challenges, regardless of whether it's in person or digital.
Exactly. I really don't have too much more to add. Like, there definitely is more room for distraction being on digital, just because like I don't know, I have 2 screens on right now. It's like, all right, there's a picture of a pangolin in my background right now. Like, there's a bunch of stuff going on, so I like sometimes it can be very distracting to have like everything on at once, where it's like, at least in most physical games that I've ever been, and like phones aren't even out. Like, everyone is completely engaged in what they're doing, for the most part. But I personally really haven't had too many issues with the GMing online. I've never had to be like, repeat multiple times to someone like what I'm describing or whatever. And something like handouts and music, or not even just visual handouts, if you have like recordings and stuff, that gets like, it really gets people listening and engaged very closely. Because otherwise, like, I don't know, they might miss like what this recording is saying. Like, what is this weird omnipotent voice talking to me, and like, why is it doing that? Just things like that can like really keep players engaged, which at least like with me as a player and a GM, that tends to help a lot.
I know that as a player, I personally have a better experience when I can be at the table, and that's not through anybody's fault but my own. Like, I want to click through social media. I want to, like, I'm doing all of that other stuff at the same time that I'm playing, sort of like you were just talking about, Heck. And so when I'm at a table, a lot of it comes from the fact that, like, I can't sit for a 4-hour session straight through. Like, I just can't physically sit that long and stay comfortable. So playing online can be a challenge, especially when it's a streamed game. It can be a real challenge for me because, like, we might only have one break in the middle. And so I'm, like, doing laps up and down the stairs or something like that because I just need to get out some of that pent up, like, oh my God, I can't sit there anymore. Whereas when I play at a table, like, I can get up and stand, I can move around, I can, we just played a one-shot at my house the other day. So it was like, I could go from the dining room to the kitchen and back to the dining room and sort of like still feel like I was part of the game. So that's really helpful for me to be able to have the ability to do that. I think I feel like that's more of an opportunity when I'm playing a not streamed game, but still online. Like, if people are okay with sort of setting up that rule ahead of time, like, oh yeah, just take a break when you need it, that kind of thing. But that's a lot harder too because I don't have speakers connected to my computer. I only have a headset. So if I get up and walk away, I can't hear what's going on anymore. So then I come back and I'm like, oh, I have no idea what's happening anymore. So I'm less likely to actually get up and walk away. So, yeah.
I've had that problem too. like time to put the kids to bed, or gotta, step away for a minute and do this, and everybody's role playing, so it's fine. I'll just go back and I'll come back and it'll be fine. And then I come back and I have absolutely no idea where we are.
True story. Just happened to him a week ago.
Yep.
Yeah, I just saw a really good point in chat. Lady of Toast, this is kind of why I'm really enjoying the play-by-post game I'm running. No real rush to answer right away. That's a really good point. There are entire servers dedicated to that, and I think it's really cool. I've only barely delved into text RP as kind of a downtime thing, between sessions, so I haven't really had a ton of experience with it. But yeah, it's a great alternative if you don't really have the time to sit down for 4 to 6 hours or however long you are there for sessions. I can't focus that long. I can't do that sometimes. That's a fantastic alternative. Very good point.
Yeah.
That Gamer Mom Loda, you may need to tell me where you do your play-by-post, because every time I ever try to do them, they fizzle out within 2 paragraphs. There's somebody's all right, it's so-and-so's turn, and then so-and-so just never goes.
Yeah,
where is so-and-so?
Yeah, the one that I'm involved in, it sort of runs into that, but it's really funny because we'll have this spurt of a lot of action, and then somebody will go away for the weekend, and okay, well, we can't do anything until this person acts, so so that's sort of been that's been an issue. But I've done other ones in the past where there were more players involved at that time. One of them was so the way that we did one of them was that it was less of a play-by-post and more of a role-play chat, if that makes sense. So we sort of made up rules for the chat, so we still involved dice rolling and things like that, but it was really this made-up system that we sort of fine-tuned as we went. And we made it really, really basic. So it was you roll a d20, a 10 or below fails, an 11 or above succeeds, but if you rolled an 11, you succeed, but barely. If you roll a 19, you succeed really, really well, and then a 20 or a 1 is still kind of your crit success, your crit fail. And then we also did it so there would be a group of people, they might, whoever happened to be available at the time or whatever, might take on sort of leading whatever was going on at that point, basically serving as a GM for a period of time. And then when you sort of got to the end of whatever was happening there, somebody else might step in and say, oh, and here's the next thing that happens. And so it was really sort of this free-flowing thing, and it was a ton of fun. I had a blast with that. And then I did another one where I can't remember what system we used. It was a while ago, but there was a lot of us involved in it, and that really helped sort of keep things going, because it wasn't, the one that I'm involved in right now, there's only 4 players. So when someone's not available, it's it really does stop the entire game. The last one that I was in before that, there was 20 of us. So it was a lot for the DM to keep track of, and God bless her soul, I don't know how the heck she did it, but it she managed it, and it was a whole Discord server that each channel was its own room in this, it was essentially a, I don't want to say a murder mystery, but each it was set on these grounds, so each channel was a location on the ground. So it might be okay, these are all the channels that happen in this house. This is, downtown. So this is the tavern. This is the marketplace. This is the, and so people could interact with each other in those various locations, but the main plot was always in wherever the GM was working at that point. So it was really kind of interesting because it kept people busy without always having to involve the GM. You could just have RP between your characters off to the side. Everybody could still see what was going on, but the GM didn't have to be involved. So that was really nice.
It's Clue, but bigger. That's so cool.
Yeah, it really was.
Cool. That'd be really cool. That'd be something to really do cool with a group of GMs, you know,
Yeah.
to like run it together. That would be like a really fun thing to do.
Yeah.
Very cool. Yeah, I never have good luck with play by post. I love them because I feel like you really get to really express yourself role playing because you have time to think about how you want to do it, and you can really create some amazing written pieces to contribute to the story. But I always have the worst luck with the other people that are in the game. They're always they never show up, and it's just like, oh.
The
So good.
the first space that I was in worked really, really phenomenally for character development. It was like for just that reason, because you could really think about like what your character was doing. And so this happened to sort of run alongside with a streamed post. And so people from the community could interact with the characters from the stream. And it really gave me a pretty amazing way to develop like some deeper attachments to people, or you know, like just different things that like, oh, I never would have thought about how my character would respond in that way, and now I don't have to come up with it on the fly on stream. You know, it was I loved it for that reason.
Yeah.
So, just because I want to give a shout out here, Lady of Toast is actually my teammate for the Dice and Salt podcast that I mentioned, that you can find at inspiredincompetence.com, because I am just unabashed still for inspiredincompetence.com. See, I got it in there twice because I'm so clever. Yeah, hell, I don't even remember what the question is. I've never done a play-by-post, but what I would suggest to Morgan, is get on the Discord and check it out with Toast. I know they've been doing it, and Toast is really great. And as far as I know a few of the people playing, and they're really good people. So, you know, if you're in the mood, got nothing better to do with your time, you know, give it a shot.
I'll have to check it out.
Awesome. Well, this is actually probably a really great place for us to pause and take a break. We've almost hit the first hour, so before we jump into another question, we'll pause here. We'll take a quick break. We'll be back in just a little bit. Give everybody a chance to refill drinks, let out the dog, free the pee, all that good stuff, and we'll be back in just a little bit. So we'll see you soon. All right, we are back from our break. Hope you all had a good break as well. All right, we're gonna dive right back into to the questions that we have, and let's see. The next one that we have is let's see. Oh, a follow-up question to what we were talking about with the digital spaces. Do you think having the ability to private message has allowed players to reach out more than maybe they could in person to deal with an uncomfortable situation as it happens?
I think your ability to reach out is based a lot on, in my opinion, this is just my opinion, so it's probably not worth much. Less than 2 cents, I'd say. But I think your ability to reach out to your game master really is dependent on the relationship you have with the game master, which does not matter in relation to the media that you're, you know, that's through, whether it's face-to-face or you're texting or whatever. I suppose if somebody was a little, or was new to a game or something like that, being able to message them privately or something could help, you know, stop something right at the table as it's happening. But, you know, I don't know. That's just my thing. I think a lot of it depends on your trust of the game master from the start, and your relationship with the game master from the start. So
I would 100% agree. So I think your opinion is worth more than 2 cents.
Yeah, it's like at its base level. Yeah, at its base level, absolutely. Because, like, you know, if you don't trust your GM, you're not going to private message them anyway. But I will say, at least in the format of a streamed game, having private message is incredibly helpful for a lot of the people, like, especially me, like, I don't want to, like, interrupt stream or, like, put up, like, next card or anything on stream. So, like, you know, everybody that is watching kind of, like, knows that there's, like, a problem, because across the board, some people are very uncomfortable with, people that are watching having known that there's a problem at the table, and they're watching very concernedly as, like, there's a quick cut to break as everything is getting sorted out during that time.
Yeah.
So I will say that, yeah, private messaging, at least in the streamed format, is incredibly helpful, because or some people don't want to end the stream just like that, and so if they can just private message their GM and then there's just a short session and then they can talk about it later, that can be incredibly helpful.
Yeah, I've seen a stream practically implode for that reason. It was messy. It was 2 players of a streamed game. One GM'd one of the games and the other GM'd the other game, but they, like, the one that wasn't GMing was playing and vice versa. And one of the GMs in one of the games made a rule call, and the other one called him out on stream and said, "No, that's not how we do it." And it was like, oh boy, here we go. And it got really uncomfortable really fast for the rest of the group, for all the chat. Like, I mean, you could just see, like, the whole tone of the stream just came way down. And then afterwards, this was really interesting. So what we used to do on the streams is afterwards we would go into a public voice chat in our Discord, and we would basically, like, allow the community to come in and say, like, hey, here's what we really liked about watching your game, here's what we didn't like, blah, blah, blah. And so that inevitably came up between the two of them in that public chat with community members present, and it got really ugly, and it just about destroyed the entire stream for just that reason. And it was like, it was one of those things where it's like, you just have to respect that the GM made a call, and that was the call for the game, like, that was it. But yeah, I think that's the kind of thing, going back to the private messaging, I think that's the kind of thing that could have been handled like, hey, we need to talk about this, regardless of how, whatever the outcome was, but the two of them needed to talk about that without everybody else present. So a private message probably would have solved that whole thing.
Yeah. But again, I think that also comes back to what Laura Richter said. Like, how you communicate with your GM, how you trust your GM. Like, even though they're both GMs, the fact that the player was like, I don't feel like I can just talk to him in private about this, and just immediately blurted that out, causing that whole, like, that player right there should have just been like, hey, like, wait, maybe we can cut for a second so we can discuss this or something. But just going, oof, like, yeah, private. Yeah. Always handle stuff like that in private, please.
Yes, please.
Whether it's digitally or in person.
Well, and I think you're saying that, it works on the GM trust, and you're saying always do it privately, but I think that also taps a little bit of this digital medium. It has a tendency to wipe out some of the social cues that might have been caught, that might have slowed the guy down or said, hey, look, I'm just making a call here because I want things to move along. If you got a problem, we can talk about it later, or we can take a break after this, whatever it is, combat scene, blah, and, sort it out. And you lose some of that medium. I mean, if you can see it, it's there, but you also can't. There's kind of an intangible, like, you have body language, but you can also, put off and exude, emotions, right? Like, people can see when you're seething with anger, right?
Yeah.
So when you get that reaction, that is lost in this medium. You can't, over this, see me just sort of seething if I pick that up, if I'm just, sitting here, looking cute like I do. It's just one of those things. So,
and you do it so well.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I try to give my best sides, but,
They're both your best side.
Oh, man. I like Morgan so much. He may jump to the best GM I've ever had.
Oh, okay.
There's a follow-up question from Lady of Toast for Alex, asking if you'd ever had issues like that during recording.
with players having problems with each other, or
Yeah.
calling. I'm sorry, we covered so much.
Sorry, no. So kind of like that. That issue, kind of like I was explaining about, the player versus the GM making a call and sort of essentially getting into it in a public forum. I think that, have you ever run into something like that during a recording session?
Yeah. We
Sorry,
bicker.
Sorry, I just read chat. Stop by. Sorry.
Yeah, we bicker more than listeners would think, thanks to our wonderful editor who gets all the infighting out of there. But there are certainly a lot of like rules disputes. I mean, Pathfinder has the moniker of Mathfinder for a reason. It has a lot of rules. And
ironically, that's what we were playing when that happened.
Oh, how about that?
Yep.
And most of those rules have their own list of sub rules that interact with each other, and it can get absolutely crazy. And there have been plenty of times where there's several just corner case rules interactions going on at the same time, and yet it's such a high stakes situation that we're trying to interpret the rules as logically as possible, but also as the GM, I'm trying to keep in mind that based on what my final adjudication is could mean the death of a character. And in those cases, it definitely gets... It can get a little heated, but I'm fortunate to have a group of pretty chill players who, at the end of the day, we all understand that we're just doing this for fun. I've never had it like linger, I guess. I've never had any like infighting carry on to like ruin a group that I've been part of. So I've been fortunate in that. But it's absolutely has happened.
Well, I do know that you have an excellent editor for all of your episodes.
Mm-hmm.
And he's a good game master too. Despite, the way he took my previous comment in chat.
It's too bad he's not listening right now. All of this all of this back padding is just gonna be lost on him.
I know.
He hates it anyway, so
I know he likes to be treated like a servant at the grindstone, just put to work and never let up.
That's all he's good for anyway.
All right. So let's see. Anybody else have anything they want to add in about private messaging between players, player GM, anything like that?
Just be kind.
It's that simple.
I never
Being
thought
kind
of
is
that.
a free action.
You can order that shirt from Gem Firefly. Use code Luna15 to get 15% off your order. Hashtag sponsored.
I don't know why, but when you said be kind, it made me want to go rewind.
Yes.
Yeah, you lived through the 80s. Good
I was going to say we're dating half of our chat here, so let's see. Everybody who knows what that means. All right, let's see. So another question from Minky Mew. What's your creative process like when writing or setting up a game? Do you mostly like to do homebrew within a system or follow modules or anything like that? And where is your inspiration coming from?
Well, I'm going to answer because mine will be the shortest, because I don't do I do the least amount of running now. But the last thing that I've put together, my inspiration, actually, I drew from knowing that my players were substantially younger than me. So Pokemon was a big deal to them. And so I pulled some inspiration from Pokemon to liven up a Shadowrun game for them.
Oh, cool. I think my answer is even shorter. I don't DM. I have worked on like an NPC supplement with plot hooks and a bunch of people over there, but yeah, that was done for 5e, so that was it.
I like to go back and forth. I run a lot of one-shots, so some of the one-shots I run will be completely creative on my end, that I use bits and pieces of different worlds that exist already. One of the biggest themes I like to run are level 20 one-shots for big game hunts, like the biggest monsters you can think of, and then make them even bigger, and I'll spin a crazy plot of why we're hunting this monster. And then other one shots, I'll use other supplements to just run those and do them justice. I definitely like to use a lot of inspiration from Underground Oracle. I run a few one shots using their stuff, so I really do like the world that Jess is building. So a lot of the inspiration I get is from them.
Yeah,
So
I mean,
you can go.
ahead. Okay. I'm very similar. I run mostly one shots for the most part, and like really all different kinds of systems. And I feel like each system I run into kind of has its own like genre, its own vibe. Like, you know, I just ran a 5e Alice in Wonderland one shot that's like very different than this D6 system I ran before that, which is it's called Basic Witches. And it was very much more like a teen femme movie, like Mean Girls or Bring It On or something like that, where like each thing kind of has its different vibe, so I get inspiration from different places. Sometimes I'll run pre-prepared stuff if there are things in the actual source material for it. For example, a Scurry is a really good example of that. It's a system that actually uses a bunch of different die depending on how long you've been playing the game, like how many hours you've been playing the game, which is pretty cool. They had their own pre-prepared stuff. That was a really awesome story, so I decided to go along with that. But there are other systems that are kind of in between where you basically roll for certain scenarios if you don't make up your own thing. So you just roll a bunch of random tables to see like where you are, like what the challenge is, who's the main antagonist, that kind of thing. So yeah, it entirely depends for me, but yeah, there's a good mix of both depending on what system you decide to visit.
So for the Inspired Incompetence podcast, we almost exclusively run APs by Paizo, the pre-written adventure paths. So our first campaign was Skull and Shackles, a pirate-themed campaign. Our current campaign is Tyrant's Grasp, survival horror. So a good bulk of that content is just ripped right out of or interpreted from the book. Sometimes I'll find something on online forum and go, oh, that sounds interesting, and kind of meditate on it for a little while, and sometimes it might just kind of evolve and turn into something, and it'll find its way into the campaign one way or another. That's actually how the intelligent sailing ship made its way into the campaign. I just found somebody mentioned something about a awakened construct ship, and I saw that, and I thought that was really interesting, and I thought about it nonstop for the next 2 weeks straight, and then eventually I found a way to put it in the campaign. And then for Tyrant's Grasp, it's, horror is one of my favorite forms of entertainment, and I love watching horror movies and playing games like Resident Evil, and a lot of my inspiration for just kind of the horror-based flair comes from like Resident Evil or Evil Dead, mediums like that.
Nice. I almost exclusively do homebrew at this point, unless somebody specifically asks me to do like a one shot that's already pre-written. I like having the control over my worlds in the sense of I don't have to worry about screwing something up that's already like official canon, like in the Forgotten Realms. You're like, and I know you don't necessarily have to, but there's always that one player at the table that knows the world better than you, and they're going to give you hell when you don't get it right. So I just like to do my own stuff because I also gives me a lot more freedom to come up with interesting stuff to give my players as well as throw at them. Like I love creating my own monsters. I love creating magic items. I constantly am doing those things for my players. So it's just easier to do that when you're homebrewing. You don't have to worry about somebody go, well, that's not official. Like it doesn't have to be. It's a homebrew world. I mean, the podcast that we're running right now, like I said before, our players are on a continent that literally float above the planet. The planet is pretty much just water, and there's underground networks underneath it. Everything else is high in the sky, and there's all kinds of crazy stuff that I've come up with that world. But what I generally will do is I will build just enough to create the world, and then based on what my players make, based on what my players where they want to explore, then every session I plan accordingly to that. I know some people will plan like weeks out in advance, like, oh, we're going to have all these things that we're going to do. I literally go session by session. So after the session, I will spend the next 3-4 days reviewing what we did, what the players wanted to do, and where they look like they're going. And then I will create content based on that. It makes it more fluid, more living for my players, I feel. So that's generally how I run.
Right.
I have a lot of respect for anybody who primarily runs homebrew content. I used to only do that, and it's just exhausting.
It is.
having the pre-written adventure as a crutch it's so safe and comfortable, and respect.
I'm actually running 2 homebrew worlds at the same time because I have the podcast that's in their own special homebrew world, and then for clients I have another homebrew world that I run them through. And I'm like, why did I do this? I'm such a I really am a glutton for punishment.
Right? Yeah.
Do they ever get crossed?
No, I have extensive notes. I use 2 different things. I use Microsoft OneNote for my players that I run my clients, and then I use this thing called Obsidian for my podcast crew. And that way, whenever I'm working, it's not just like a different note; it's a completely different program. So that way, they both work very similar. So it's like that's how I do it, and that way nothing gets crossed.
Oh, one of the things you said, I think it came up in the Extra Life about being concerned about a player that has too much detail about a world or too much knowledge of a world. And I'm going to say the same thing that I said then, which is you take that player and you tell him to do the descriptions, to give you that information in the background. You put that sucker to work so that all his knowledge is there. And then when people start going, well, I don't think that's right, that doesn't remind me of, bam, he's got to deal with it. You can just sit back and watch and go, yeah, there you go. That's how I feel.
Fair. I think for me, I always feel like I think we get in our own heads. I feel like I'm supposed to know all that information if I'm going to run it. And I know you don't have to. Like, I know that. But in my mind, I'm like, I got to know these things. And if I don't know them, then I shouldn't be running it. Like, if that makes sense. So that's how my brain works. So
good for you.
All right, let's see. The next question that we have is from, let's see, we already went that one. So Full Round Action Gaming would like to know if you've ever had a moment where you knew your character would die and you leaned into it. I came super
Absolutely.
close in a one-shot over the last week. My character got down to 1 hit point.
Yeah, I mean, yes, but it was also using a system where, like, by the end your character is going to die because they already died a long time ago. So I'm not sure if that really counts.
What system was that?
It was actually a system/system agnostic thing that I ended up writing.
Oh,
It's
that's
on
cool.
itch. Yeah, it's called Locomotive, and it's basically a system where it's you go on different stops in different places and times that you can roll on, actually, and you just go through a series of different places and times, and you answer questions based on whatever you roll. And you can play it as characters, you can play it as yourself, that kind of thing. But then there is what I call the final stop, that isn't a place or a time, it's actually a person. And you get to have that interaction with whatever person you choose, and it's kind of like supposed to be significant of closure of some kind. And at least for the one shot that we did of that, and like I was playing, I wasn't even jamming for this one, but the final stop we had in our mind was the whatever loved one or person that we wanted to meet before passing on to the afterlife. And it was fantastically GM'd. Like, shout out to Meg Mysteria. They did an amazing job at running the system that I wrote.
Your system. I'd love to see
That
this
sounds really
system.
cool.
Yeah. It's on itch. I can provide the link if y'all are interested.
Please
Yeah.
do.
Very rules
definitely.
light, very
Yeah.
simple, but I've had a really good time the couple times that I played it.
Very awesome. That sounds really cool.
I have
I'd
an
love to do that on
interesting
my podcast.
I have an interesting story from my podcast when we were doing our Skull and Shackles playthrough. One of the players, he came to me in private. He said he wasn't really having fun with his character anymore. He wanted to make something new, and we decided that, all right, well, we're gonna kill off your character, and then that'll provide a springboard for a new character. So they're in combat number 8 for the area that they're in, and there was a phantasmal killer spell cast on him, which is you make a will save to disbelieve it, and if you fail that, you make a fortitude save to not die of fear. And I just sent him a private message, and podcast, no visual element, so I'm just typing in the Roll20 chat, like, all right, Nick, this is your cue. Whatever, just go ahead and roll. Whatever you roll, we'll just say that you fail. He rolled a natural 1 for the will save, and then he rolled a natural 1 for the fortitude save. So we didn't have to pretend anything happened, because it just happened for real. And it was 2 natural 1s that killed him. So we had nothing to really lean into, but it was like we knew he was going to die, and it just turned into, there was no faking required.
So the dice were like, yeah, we're with you on this. It's happening.
Yeah. I hear you, buddy. Just sit back.
Got you. We'll roll your ones for you. Don't worry.
Yeah.
For me, I've had plenty of characters in Call of Cthulhu games die because it's very, very easy to die in it, and I've always leaned into it. But I think the most interesting one for me was when I was a kid in 2E, I was playing a paladin. And at the time, I was really on this whole, holy warrior kick. I was at that age where, knights were just super cool to me. And we fell into this pit. My uncle was running the game. We fell in this pit, and it was a bunch of, I can't remember what they were. I can't remember if they were wraiths, whatever, but they were the ones that could drain levels from you when they hit you in 2E. And you, lost levels permanently. There's no, short rest or long rest, and they come back. No, they were gone. You lost levels, and they were gone. It was nasty, brutal. And everybody was like dying, and I'm like, my cousin, he was a wizard, he's like, I'm going to teleport out there. I'm like, I'm going with him. My uncle's like, you're a holy paladin. You can do that, but if you do, you lose all of your abilities. So I was like, well, I don't want to be a coward, so that I had to like stay there and fight to the death. And after that, I never played a paladin again. And to this day, I have still not played a paladin.
Aw. You got to get right back up on that horse, man. Your paladin died a glorious death. You got to pick it back up. Come on.
I know. But it's like, no, never played a paladin again. But honestly, I should, because 5e it's not nearly as brutal on paladins like 2e was. It's not nearly as brutal.
Not brutal like anything that 2e was.
2e was brutal.
The good days. The good days.
Yeah, with Thaco, these younger generations, they don't know about Thaco.
I love Thaco. Love Thaco.
Yeah, can't rewind VHSs either.
Yeah. I will say this: Thaco helped me become good at math. So when you start having to figure out like how to hit armor class 0 as a 5-year-old, you get pretty good at math.
Oh yeah. Well, Thaco. Just an aside, they used to have the tables. If you've seen the first edition books, which you said the tables are so much easier because you didn't have to remember. Just remember I'm going to say C. It's that. Boom, done. Find it in the table, done. Thaco, you actually had to do the math in your head and try to make it better so you could get faster.
Oh man, but yeah, that was for me. Would be I leaned right into it, but I didn't want to lean into it. I was just like, well. I kind of have to.
Yeah.
Don't have a choice.
Yeah, poor 5-year-old being forced to do that. Nice.
I was 10. I was 10 at that point. I was 10. Not much better.
Twice is rough on you, though, right? That's what I'm hearing.
Yeah, and that was actually my first character death ever too. It was that paladin.
Dang.
It was the first time I'd ever died. So, yeah, I got to play paladins again. Their smite is too brutal.
I have not had as myself a player die. I've almost killed one player as a DM in a level 21 shot, but he just barely got out of it. But that was a really fun one shot, and he was a good sport for it.
What about you, Luna?
I've only had one character death, and it was very unexpected. It was basically a one-hit kill. So I didn't really have time to lean into it. Yeah, I've told this story before, so people who have watched the stream before already know it, but I was playing a centaur. We were in like a crypt, walked into a room. I was the only person strong enough to open a sarcophagus, which is a bad idea, but I was a fairly new player at the time. And so I open a sarcophagus, out pops a vampire, cast Slay Living, end of character. So, yeah. That was fun. That's the only time I ever had one of my characters die. I did, and again, this was another thing that like I didn't see it coming, so I couldn't really lean into it. But I did have a character who she didn't die, but she was in a relationship, and the person she was in a relationship was on a ship that got blown up. And so that was really tough, like, because again, didn't know it was coming. She, it was an NPC that she was in a relationship with, and so the DM, really used it to his advantage to like progress the story along, and that I think I would have been able to lean into that one harder, but again, didn't know it was coming. So, yep.
When you move the sarcophagus, you kind of lean down, so you kind of leaned into that.
Yeah.
Lean into the hit.
Yeah.
Yep.
Right into that Slay Living.
Yeah.
So what I heard from that, Luna, kind of the bigger story I got from that was when a GM kills NPCs that you're invested in, it hurts a lot. Right?
It does. It hurts a lot. I have a feeling there's a story behind this question, but yes.
Nah, not at all. It's just checking. That's all.
No.
Okay, so no stories. Great.
Not even 3 of them.
Oh, oh no. That's terrible. Oh.
I want to know now. Who's Jando?
Oh,
Richter, who's Yando?
Wow, you're going to throw that on me to have to explain your bad behavior. Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry. Am I the one who brought it up?
No, I just asked an innocent question. What the heck?
It wasn't loaded or anything.
I don't load questions. They're just questions.
Yeah.
Not my fault your conscience is guilty.
All right. Well, we have one last question that we can get to before we have to wrap it up for the night. And this, I think, is a fun one to end on. So the last question that we have tonight comes from Jason. And Jason would like to know, if you created a dragon outside of the standard colors, what color would it be?
Ooh.
And I'm going to throw in a bonus half to that question. And what would its breath weapon be?
So what additions and systems are we talking about here? Are we talking about like 5e? Are we talking about older, like across the board? Like,
I guess I would say across the board.
oh, okay.
I mean, obviously, if you don't know if a color exists in that system, that's one thing, but...
Yeah, because it's like, I don't know.
Purple.
'Cause, like,
that's what I was thinking, too.
Purple dragon.
yeah, because I think those might have existed in some other edition. I don't actually know.
Purple dragons, just real quick. There's Forgotten Realms had them, and purple dragons were an especially like dark version of the black dragons.
Okay.
If I remember, that's where the Coromine had the purple dragons as an order of knights. But that was where it was taken from. Was that Coromir was originally a territory of a really important, big, nasty black dragon who was colored with purple. As a tint, I think, or something. But I think the idea was if you were, either old enough as a black dragon or something like that, then you picked up this possible color.
All right, I didn't know that.
And now you do. And
We all
knowing
learned-
is half the battle.
And now this is an
Exactly.
educational stream.
Yeah, yeah. Like
I-
I treat monster manuals like field guides sometimes, with just like the amount of knowledge I kind of put together. So there was like this little inkling of like, oh, I think that might exist. I think gray dragons might have existed at some point. I don't really remember. I know I had like kind of a reskin / homebrewed one gray dragon to have like a like stone breath basically, and like you'd have to roll con saves or get paralyzed / turn to stone, which would be cool. But a newer one that came off the top of my head, I think I would do a pink dragon, and
Had
its breath.
those
They
in
did?
2E. In 2E. It was a very special thing. Not a lot of people know about it. But sorry, I just want to let you know they had that.
Yeah, pink dragon, and its breath weapon would be bubbles.
Nice. I like
It'd
it.
be very cute.
Man.
Love it.
I am working on a specific dragon for my podcast crew that they don't know about this yet. And I don't think anyone are watching it, but we're dealing a lot with like void type creatures, things that are corrupted by void magic and void itself. So it'd be pretty much like black, but like a liquid black, the scales. And the breath weapon would be something that has to do with corruption as well as also de-aging. One of those things, like a mixture, or like not de-aging, but aging, like aging somebody.
Yeah.
So it'd probably be like necrotic in the sense, because necrotic kind of does that.
Like a
But
tar
it would
dragon.
but it'd be like a thing where as they're getting hit by it, instead of like melting the skin, they see them literally begin to age from the breath weapon. So yeah, they're gonna have fun with that.
I'm gonna use
Yeah,
that.
they're gonna have a lot of fun with it. I think they will.
I was thinking maybe like a slime dragon,
Nice.
Ooh.
and then like their breath weapon would be kind of like gelatinous cube.
Nice.
It summons gelatinous
I love
cubes.
it.
Comes like terrain, rough terrain, and like it eats your skin slowly as you're standing in it.
It's like it's blowing a big old bubble gum bubble, and it gets bigger and bigger, and then it just like flops onto the ground.
The guy that normally runs at my table actually had that in his 2E game, he had a black dragon, I believe, that breathed gelatinous cubes, and the party hated it.
I
So
can't
he's like,
imagine
no,
why.
Yeah, I bet.
no, gelatinous cube, crap! Got to dodge that zone. Got to dodge, and then, so
That's funny.
I was thinking about like one of those, that shade of black that doesn't always look black, like it looks kind of like purpley, yellowy, goldy, like depending on the light that it's in. That's the color.
Chromatic, kind of.
Sort of.
Yeah. I have like like
that
if
dress.
light was black off of
Yeah.
oil. Yeah.
Oh my God! Let's not get into that dress. I'm sure that
the
we
dress
have a debate
dragon.
on that.
It's the dress dragon.
No. I'll be here all night. No.
It's blue. It's gold. No, it's blue.
Its breath weapon is confusion.
I was gonna say its breath weapon is just yes. It just does all of them, like depending on what color you see.
Nice.
Somebody write that up quick. Yeah, I think I mean, I'm just a fan of dragons in general, so I could probably take that prompt and run with it a mile, but
well, it is one of the things that's been done a lot. I know they did. Hang on one second. I got a husky that just every time I start talking, he's decided he has to bark now.
He has things to say.
Yeah, right now.
He wants to contribute.
Tell I'm busy.
Yeah. What do you have to say about dragons?
I love you.
yeah,
I
what
like the
color
black and
dragon
white
does your
dragon.
husky? Yeah, what color dragon is your husky putting together for us?
Well, he's black and white, and so he's into that.
So it's a
So
black
is it like-
and
and
white
then
dragon.
he,
Got it.
Could be
Yeah.
like a cow dragon.
Like, I think he was going for patrol. Kind of the whole never seen a black and white before.
Yeah.
I
His
think
breath
that's
weapon
where
is
he's
walkies.
How
Yeah.
about that? How about a cow? How about a cow dragon? And when it breath weapon, it's just Sonic, but it's just a loud moo.
Oh God, I love that idea. You could do that with so many animals, though.
Yeah, you really could.
It's just one of those ones you just reskin it to fit the area that you're in.
Yeah.
But hear me out. This like those round wheel toys that you pulled the string and then it would go around and go to a certain barn animal noise.
Yes!
You pull one of those to decide what sound the dragon
Oh my
makes.
God!
It's so chaotic. I love it.
I want to do that now. Yeah. Oh my god.
Barnyard dragon. That's what it is. The
Barnyard
barnyard
dragon.
dragon.
Barnyard dragon. I love it.
Well, then he has to be named McDonald.
I was about to say that.
McDonald
And he has to be
barnyard
great
dragon.
old farm. So it's great,
McDonald the
great old
Ancient.
farm McDonald.
McDonald the ancient barnyard dragon. There you go.
Oh gosh.
There you go, chat. All you DMs out there, take
Right?
that and run
That's
with
a freebie. We're giving you that one on a silver platter.
Every makes has to be twice. Once it's gonna moo moo. Quack quack.
Yeah. Yeah, it gets two breath attacks at a time.
it.
All right. Well, we are about at that point where we need to start wrapping up. So I would like to have everybody go back around again and just remind us of who you are, where we can find you on the internet, anything that you have coming up that you would like to share. We're going to go in the reverse order from when we started. So we're going to start with Heck this time and work our way around the other way. So Heck, I turn it over to you.
Oh no, I gotta remember what I'm in now. I'm pulling up my calendar. Hey everybody, it's me, Sir Heckolot, or Heck. You can find me on all of the social medias as Sir Heckolot, including Twitch, Twitter, Itch, Instagram, kind of just everywhere. It's the best place to figure out where I'll be next in the TTRPG space. But as kind of a preview coming up, you can find me on Lost Caravan RPG tomorrow, playing as a skeleton. We're all going to be skeletons defending a dungeon instead of going through a dungeon. So it's going to be very
fantastic.
interesting. Yeah, it's like his own system and everything. They're like different like types of skeletons. It's gonna be wild. You're not gonna want to miss that. You can find me on the Hype Goblins channel every Saturday playing Numenera. We just got like past the halfway point of the campaign at this point, and it has gotten just like there's so much lore, there's so much political intrigue. It's so cool. Our DM Jen does like the best job at laying it all out. There's still like a ton of different like lore and stuff that you can see in our Discord channel to catch up pretty easily. It's also in podcast form, all of that. And then you can find me on Nat 20 every other Thursday playing All Hail the Queen. It is a Tyranny of Dragons campaign that we just passed. I think we're level 11 right now, so we're kind of getting into the thick of the dragon cult and figuring out what's going on with it, so it's very, very cool. Other than that, yeah, you can just find me around Neon Lights sometimes. You can find me around what other channel have I not mentioned yet? I think I've mentioned the other 3, so yeah, I know I've covered all my bases. That is it for now.
Awesome. Well, thanks for coming on and hanging out tonight. It was awesome to have you, and I appreciate you coming on.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Morgan, we'll go to you next.
Hey guys, Morgan My Play Mondays. We are a team of professional dungeon masters. I started this a couple years ago. It's grown significantly, and we're still growing. Besides the D&D that we run for clients, I also have a podcast that we release episodes for. It's called the Mind Play Mondays podcast. You can find it pretty much at almost everywhere that you listen to podcasts. We do it through Anchor. We have Spotify, Apple, and a whole ton of others that you can find the episodes on. Besides that, on Tuesdays, I get to be a player. It's the only time I get to be a player, typically, and it's on Zeal Zaddy's live stream channel. So if you check out Zeal Zaddy on Tuesdays around 9 p.m., you'll find us there. It's an amazing game, a lot of fun. And other than that, I'm going to be guesting on the Dungeons and Dummies stream sometime in August here for a Extra Life charity. And there's another one that me and Gamer Mom Luna are both a part of that's coming up on the 27th and 28th. It's called Weave Racers, where we get to be Mario Kart characters in it, pretty much. And that is also a charity game that I'm going to be involved in. So I'm super excited.
Yeah, that's going to be super fun. I am excited. Awesome. Well, thank you for coming on tonight, Morgan, and hanging out. Always a pleasure to chat with you. Let's see. Next, we'll go over to Lord Richter.
Yeah, I'm Lord Richter, and you can find me hanging out in Discord. I don't do Twitter. I don't do the other stuff. That's just what I am. But I hang out in Discord. I hang out at InspiredIncompetence.com's Discord. I hang out at Full Round Action Gaming. And, of course, you can always drop me any kind of message at Luna's Discord, since I know everybody is in that one, right? Project-wise, we've just started, like I said, that podcast where we talk about the episodes of Inspired Incompetence. We're calling it Dice and Salt, and our very next episode drops tomorrow. So if you're interested, check out Inspired Incompetence and then come listen to ours. But I'm going to warn you, ours will be full of spoilers, so make sure you're where you want to be.
Awesome.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. It's always a pleasure to get to chat with you, and yeah, it's nice to have you on again. Kyle.
I am Kyle, and you can find me at Kyle Express on all the socials, and you can always find me in Underground Oracle's Discord channel, and generally just hyping up all these amazing people, and you can find me in the TTRPG space, just basically shouting all these people out, how awesome they are. So come and join me.
Kyle's one of the awesome people on Twitter. If you're not following Kyle, you definitely should be. So do that right now. Go. Actually, go after the stream. And then GM Alex, tell us about you.
Yep. Just real quick, Lord Richter's podcast, Dice and Salt, is on the Inspired Incompetence feed. So if you're looking for them, that's where you can find it. So I run the Inspired Incompetence podcast. I am the GM. We've got fully completed Skull and Shackles pirate theme campaign in the books, and we're currently we're about almost exactly halfway through our Tyrant's Grasp survival horror campaign, all Paizo APs. And I forgot to mention this at the opening, we are going to be at Fandom Fest in Schenectady, New York on August 13th. And we're going to be running a live session, sort of a what if scenario. We're taking an event from our Skull and Shackles podcast and kind of going off the rails with it a little bit with, what if things worked out a little differently. And we're going to try to get that recorded for uploading it into our feed, but we'll see how the audio sounds with big open space with a lot of people talking. So hopefully, fingers crossed, we can get that on the waves. But yeah, we're our website's inspiredincompetence.com. You can find our Discord on there, our Twitter handle. We have lots of affiliates for cool dice and other gaming merchandise. All of those links and the coupon codes are on the website right there.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you very much for coming on and hanging out tonight. It was a pleasure to get to meet you finally. I know we had talked a while ago, so
I know.
So this
Thanks
was
for having
great.
me.
Yeah, my pleasure. So good to have all of you on. I am Gamer Mom Luna. This has been Tales from the Tavern. We are here just about every Sunday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, and we talk all things TTRPG. So let's see. Yeah, as Morgan mentioned, the only one shot that I have coming up, for those of you who haven't heard, we had to cancel the one shot that was supposed to be on 8/19. And so on the 27th is when I'll be playing in the Weave Racers charity stream. And I will be on the 3 p.m. Eastern Time stream, 12 p.m. Pacific. So round 2, I know it's going to be that game right now is me, Jamie Moonchild, who was on a week or two ago, and David, who is the Fungeon Master of Good Better Quest, is part of my group as well. So it should be a lot of fun. I'm really excited about that. We are going to go raid a good friend of the channel. We're going to go raid Gum Malau. If you don't know Gum, definitely drop a follow, say hi. Gum is a very good egg, and we are big fans. So,
Gum Malau, sorry, I'm so sorry. Gum Malau is going to be at our live session at Fandom Fest.
He's
going to be joining us.
All the more reason you should go say hi. So, yes.
Yes.
Awesome. All right. Well, I hope you all... Oh, no! He just raided us! That's funny. Okay. Well, we're not going to go raid Gum. That won't work. So, we're going to go raid... that's funny. We're going to go raid Perception Studios instead. Let me retype that. We're going to go raid Perception Studios. I believe they're playing D&D. At least that's what they were doing the last time I looked. So if you are not familiar with them, sometimes, tonight is not one of them, but sometimes they play D&D using essentially Muppet-style puppets. They are freaking hysterical. Highly recommend. Like I said, the puppets are not there tonight, but definitely drop them a follow so you can catch that sometime because it's well worth it. Have a great night, everybody. We'll see you next week. Take care.
Thank you. Good night.
Thanks for tuning in for another episode of Tales from the Tavern. You can catch this podcast recorded live every Sunday night at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific at twitch.tv/GamerMomLuna. All of our questions come directly from chat, so we never really know what to expect when we go live. If you ever have a question or would like to add something to the conversation, feel free to reach out on Twitter at GamerMomLuna and use the hashtag TFTT. You may just get to hear it answered. Thanks so much.
I should go.